92 am Start.
Grüß Gott, hello, good morning, and welcome to Innsbruck in Austria. Just above the city that has twice hosted the Winter Olympic Games nestles the small village of Eagles, and that is where the sliding centre is based. In 1964, it was a natural track. The current track was built for the 76 Games, and it is the venue for the third race weekend at the BMW IBSF World Cup. Good morning and welcome to race 2 of the Women's Monobob Series. Today, Martin Haven and Mika Moore ready to watch the action. And Mika, this Innsbruck track is famous for giving really close results.
Yes, it is, Martin. I mean, we're coming down the start here. It's a nice flat start for the athletes. Start record by Cynthia Appiah, 5:76. We didn't see anything close to that yesterday, but maybe today with nicer ice we might. These top corners are long, slow corners, not sort of what we'd see on the circuit. It takes a little while for the sleds to get going here, but as we come down into corner 4, 5, 6, there's that injection of speed into the sled. And then we'll come into the huge Kreisel. If you're ever in Austria, it's amazing to come and watch it down here. It's a fantastic sight to see. And then we'll come down into the corners that may cause the sleds a little bit of trouble. Corner 9, definitely. We want to see the athletes come out of this nice and straight into 10. And then down into our labyrinth, 11, 12, 13. This will come at the pilots very quickly. And then they get a little bit of respite around 14. It's a nicer corner there.
And then the danger begins, braking here into the final corner, and then more brakes out here. And for the monobobs, that's quite tough because you have to take your handles off the steering rings to use the brake levers. So you can either slow down or steer. Imagine that in a car. Now then, our World Cup points leader is Kaysha Love. She won in La Plagne last week and had a great finish here with 4th place yesterday in the second World Cup race. Brianna Walker took the silver medal here yesterday behind winner Lisa Buckwitz of Germany. And you're right, yesterday we were in the clouds. It was just damp and soggy and foggy, and the track was soft as a result. It is cold and crisp this morning. There you go. Ice temperature -7 and -3.7 rider. Air is -3. It feels like there's a snap in the air. The snow is crackling under your feet, so it should be a faster track, and it might be a faster start area as well. The problem when you refrigerate ice is like when you open the freezer and put your hand in, sometimes it sticks to the ice. That's the condensation, and you get that on the track as well, and that's particularly noticeable at the start area. So with the less humidity in the ice, we might get some quicker starts. And as you said, Cynthia Appiah with a 5:76 getaway as the start record. Lisa Buckwitz set the track record in February of this year. She won then, she won yesterday. Can she make it a hat-trick? That would be pretty impressive. She goes off 10th in our field of 18 sleds. Was 19 yesterday morning, but Kim Kalicki has pulled out with a leg injury. Won't race today, may race tomorrow. That depends on physio. Getting race 3 of the BMW IBSF Women's Monobob Series underway is Giada Andreutti, the 28-year-old from Italy, finished in 17th place yesterday. Let's see what she's got for us this morning. .6:51 start. This will give us an indication of how the athletes are going to deal with the track. It's a little bit more like the conditions were at the beginning of training.
Yeah, a 5:61 getaway. I suppose the difficulty of going off first is you don't have anyone to compare to, but the fantastic thing about going off first is you've got that fresh ice. So let's see what Giada can do with that.
And look at the high gloss shine on the ice. They spritz it, they spray a mist of water over it to make it ultra slick. It's like polishing a floor. So you get the fastest ice, but it's also the hardest to control the sled on. Very different conditions from yesterday. The athletes have to respond to that very fast indeed. 56:28. So she comes down. She's our first sled. Bear with caller. Giada Andreutti, first trip down yesterday, 57.77. So that's 1.5 seconds quicker this morning. Now, she has had 2 more trips down the ice, but I think that shows us the track is definitely quicker today.
Yeah, and she will have felt that coming out of 10. You know that there's that speed in the sled as well. She's got to react quicker. She's got to be on it. But no, a nice run, I thought. Yeah. I thought that was really nice.
Nice out of 9 there. Tiniest little tail skid, but these sleds are very skittish at the back. So Giada Andreutti gives us an indication of what we might expect. Next up is Adele Nicoll, made her World Cup debut as a driver yesterday. Really enjoyed herself. She had a top 15 run, second World Cup race now. And to answer the question from yesterday, the Newtown Saints, her sponsors, owned by her personal sponsor Mike Harris, the Newtown Saints lead the Welsh Premier League despite being an English team. Newtown Saints based in Oswestry in the Welsh Marches. So let's see what Adele's got. Former brakewoman, British and Welsh shot put champion. So she's got plenty of explosive power. 6:02, that's a great getaway.
Yeah, that's a big improvement on yesterday's start, I believe. I think we were around the 6:1 mark on yesterday's second run. So.
Yeah, 6:25 in the first heat yesterday, 6:02 today. So that polished ice at the top, no stiction under the runners, really going to help. We might be looking at some new records. Better speed than Giada Andreutti down into the Kreisel. This is a nice looking run as well from Adele Nicoll. Just a little drift out of 9, but no skid, so she's able to nudge the sled back onto line. This is good stuff. Across the line, 55.18. Big smiles and applause there. Graham Richardson, the coach. So World Cup debut yesterday, finished 15th place. She's happy with that. She was very happy yesterday evening, and rightly so. Good stuff. Well, again, Mika, like yourself, a brakewoman who has turned to driving. It's a very different experience, isn't it, when you've got the responsibility for everything?
It is a very different experience. We spent a lot of time here last year, so we actually did a camp at the start of the year, which was really nice to be able to do. It gives you a lot of confidence then.
Yeah, knowledge of the tracks is something that you can only get by bitter experience and several years of sliding. Next up, our third of 18 starters. China's Ying Mingming, the 28-year-old, finished 6th in the Winter Games in Beijing in the Monobob. 13th in the season opener in La Plan last week. 14th here yesterday. This is her 7th World Cup start. So she did 4 of last year's 8 World Cup races. Trying to get that brakeman lean into the sled. Body weight to really try and break the inertia of the sled. 6:04, so a couple of hundreds behind Adele Nicoll. Let's see if her greater driving experience can help her here. She'll have a little bit of a speed deficit early on. See if she can drive herself into contention. 500s back.
Yeah, as you said at the top of the track there, Martin, she's going for that lean back approach, getting all the weight behind the sled. But let's see how she can drive it down.
700s back, nice exit out of the Kreisel. Second best speed, fastest all the way down through the speed trap so far is Adele Nicoll. Really benefiting from that early run, the fresh spritz on the crisp ice. 1500s back, Ying Mingming is losing ground still to the British slider, and across the line, 1400s back, 55.32. So she's in second of our 3 sleds so far.
And as we know, all these monos are the same. They're exempt sleds, but the difference would be what runners you've chosen to put on that day. So
that's absolutely correct. The sleds are identical, built by the same company in Germany. You can have your own choice of runners. Depends what selection is available to you. I'm assuming Adele it has the option of taking 2-man runners that might otherwise be used for women's bob or maybe for the 2-man. Trying to get the right set of runners on, and then they'll be re-prepped for another race. Ying Mingming in second place. Adele Nicoll leads the first 3 sleds down. Next up for France, Margo Boch finished in 9th place in yesterday's race. It's only her 3rd World Cup start in Monobob. She's got plenty of Monobob experience, but not in the World Cup. She made her World Cup debut at home in La Plagne last week. Just 24 years old. Competed in the Winter Games, finished 11th. 13th in the World Championships in February. She won here in the Monobob World Series a couple of years ago. So she has got plenty of experience at this track. 6:08, gives away 0.06 of a second to Adele Nicoll, the current leader. Gap's growing. Let's see what she can produce here. 1200's back, still 2nd best speed, so she's not found anything over Adele. Little tap there from 9 to 10. 1400's back, the gap is growing. It's Margo Boch and Ying Mingming tussling for 2nd place, and they are tied to the 100th of a second. There is the nature already. We've got 4 sleds down, 2 of them are tied to the 100th. That is how this track works. Margo Boch shakes her head. So 8th in La Plagne, 9th yesterday. Currently tied for 2nd. Exit here from 9, just had a little nudge. See her leaning over. That's not just to look round the cow, that's to just put her shoulder into the sled a little, just trying to nudge it away from that wall without having to steer. The Monobobs are relatively light with only 1 person in. Body weight does make a difference. 7 World Cup start for Brianna Walker of Australia in the Monobobs. Took the silver medal yesterday after 5th in La Plagne earlier in the season. She has had wins here in Europe Cup level Monobob World Series. She's got 12 Monobob wins under her belt. Pierre Luder's coaching her. I think she felt that yesterday the medal was tantalisingly close. The gold medal that she needs to complete the set at least. 5.90, big start for Brianna Walker. She is definitely one of the leading lights in the Monobob World Cup. Getting on for 25 Monobob medals already in her career. And a dozen wins. Not yet at World Cup level. Best speed of all, 95.9. It's 2.2 kilometres an hour quicker than Adele Nicoll. 2800's up on the Welsh girl. Oh, but a big skid, 9 to 10. That's going to take speed out of the sled. She will be in the lead. She's the first of our accredited front runners. 4100's up, 54.77. Track record is 54.49. That's interesting. Brianna Walker, little mistake, 9 to 10. And that might cost her a first heat lead.
Not quite the smile we saw from Pierre yesterday, was it? Another heat to tidy up that exit 9.
Yeah, the problem with this track is everybody knows it so well. She had to steer late off, ran into the wall on the way down to corner 10. Everybody knows it so well that if you make tiny errors, then you have to rely on all your rivals making similar tiny errors. Brianna Walker leads after our first 5 sleds. Five down, 13 to go. First run, race 3 of the BMW IBSF Women's Monobob World Cup. We're in Innsbruck in Austria. Bianca Ribi of Canada, the 27-year-old, in her 9th World Cup start. Overseen there by her coach. Gold medalist last season. Missed out in the race in Eagles. She didn't come here last year. She had raced yesterday, so a 6:10 start.
Yeah, and for Ribi, she'll be looking to improve on that 10th place. I think for herself and Cyn, both from Canada, they're looking to move up the ranks now over these next races.
Yeah, you've got to build on the experience, and doing 2 races in 2 days, physically it's a little bit demanding, but it does mean that you've got immediate extra run volume to learn from on day 2. 4th best speed, and at the moment 4th on the splits, and that will be behind Ying Mingming and Margo Boch. She finished right behind Boch yesterday, considerably ahead of Ying Mingming. 5th place, 55.35. Lyndon Rush there on the left-hand side. The former Canadian side who now coaches their drivers. 55.35 then, so 300s behind the tie for 3rd place. So we have Ying Mingming, Margo Boch and Bianca Ribi, 3 sleds covered by 300s.
And we said, you know, this is a track that everyone knows well, but how do you get down it quickly? That's the way. That's what we've all got to find out.
Again, the late exit off 9 we saw from Brianna Walker, driving it down off the end of the corner rather than from the middle of the corner. So the runner's not giving her as much traction, as much purchase as she was expecting there out of corner 9. Kaysha Love, what a sensation she has been so far this season. First ever World Cup monobob race was in La Plagne last week. First ever gold medal in women's monobob was in La Plagne last week. She finished 4th yesterday, a whisker off the podium. And she now has 6 official monobob races under her belt. 2 in Europe Cup, 2 in North America Cup, and 2 in World Cup. 5.87, very good starting indeed, and that's all part of the equation. You've got to have everything if you want to win these races.
Yeah, a very nice start there, and obviously, you know, we're going to see that she comes from track. She's got a PB of 11.47 over 100 metres, so we're going to see that reflected in her starts.
Well, the difference, of course, with 100 metres is that you're not pushing a heavy wheelbarrow in front of you, so, and not on ice. But you're right, I mean, if you can convert that speed, and, you know, the likes of Lolo Jones did so as a brakewoman, then, and somehow find the touch to drive as well. And that's the real challenge, is actually not just being fast, but being able to drive fast as well. 300s off the lead. This is a very good first run indeed. 2nd place, 800s back, 54.85. She is right in the frame again. And how good a day she had yesterday, and in La Plagne, incidentally. She outdrove Elana Meyers-Taylor. And Elana was the Olympic silver medalist in monobob.
And she'll just be thriving off all these moments. I mean, imagine starting your season in this way. It's just going to give you that positivity to go forward.
Absolutely. The positivity just exudes from her, doesn't it? She's just having the time of her life at the moment. You know, and that's the thing. I can remember when Elana first started taking medals, then, you know, it was just ebullient. The next season, she was really down if she was off the podium, and that's the challenge now, is to kind of keep that energy going, even if you have a bad week or two, and everybody will. Brianna Walker leads from Kaysha Love. Next up is one of our other podium finishers from La Plagne last week. Andrea Greku was the bronze medalist there, claimed her first ever monobob World Cup medal. Yesterday, though, she was in 6th position, another strong day, but she made a couple of mistakes on the loads. Talked to her after it. She did admit, yeah, ran too far on both starts, had to get in with one hand, grab both steering handles, less than ideal. She got away with it. I think you noticed that she stepped in just a little earlier in the second heat. In this first heat rather today.
I'm glad she's not making that a thing, because it was making my heart a little bit pitter-patter, pitter-patter.
I did say, was that something you planned? And she said, oh no, not at all. 500s off the lead. She started right where Brianna Walker and Kaysha Love did. 5.88, just 100 behind Kaysha Love at the start. She's 1,500s back. Now there's a big gap first to third of 0.4 of a second. She will be third at the line, 2,100s back, so she's in the middle of that group. 54.98. Tall figure on the right of that shot in the coach's box, Iulian Pakianu. He's the Romanian bobsled coach for the men.
Having a look under the cowling there.
Yeah. Well, we were comparing notes. I told her a story about one training run, I think it was in Lake Placid, where Chris Spring leapt out of the sled, cursing at the top of his voice, because when the D-rings had been attached to the bungee straps that hold them off the floor, they'd been crossed over, so the right handle affected the left runner and vice versa. He had to come down Lake Placid in -25 ice at high speed, trying to remember that the steering was crossed over. She said, oh my goodness, I can't imagine how he survived. She was talking about a run in Altenburg where one of her steering ropes broke. She kicked out of the sled in corner 9. Didn't want to be in it. World champion next up. This is Lara Nolte for Germany. Finished in the bronze medal position yesterday. Can she be in amongst the front runners again today? Looks like a good start. 6 flat.
Yeah, for Lara, she's got to make sure she's up for the starts. 6 flat, we know she's got the drive. She's improving on her starts each time. But, I mean, there was a real battle between her and Brie yesterday. Let's see what happens today.
2 wins last season. Her first ever monobob victory came in Lake Placid. And then she won again in Winterberg in Germany, the very next race after the Christmas New Year break. And of course, Winterberg is where we go for the World Championships this year. It's a very disappointing run in the Worlds after a crash in the monobob last year in Samoritz, or last season in Samoritz. But she came back to win the women's title. It's a decent looking run, but a quarter second back at the line, 55.0, so 200s behind Andrea Greku of Romania. Again, that underlines how good Greku is getting in the monobob as well as in the women's bobsleigh. Paul Niargu running that Romanian programme for the women, making sure that Andrea stays right in the top. And Lara Nolte in 4th place.
I think that was probably one of the nicest drives we've seen so far. I don't know if we're going to get a replay of her exit 9, but it was lovely. It was straight into 10, but she, you know, quarter of a second down.
Yeah, not the fastest of starters. I mean, only a couple of hundreds behind 1200s behind Andrea Greku at the start. So she drove into that position. And again, she could be a podium threat. And so could this woman, Lisa Buckwitz, another former gold medalist and Olympic champion break woman. Back in 2018, she was the women's bobsleigh Olympic champion on the back of the sled. And she clearly is aiming to try and do that from the front seat. First ever World Cup gold medal was in Innsbruck in February. Second ever Gold Cup medal was in Innsbruck yesterday. Is the third a charm as well? Buckwitz is our favourite. 5.79, big start, and 300s off the start record.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Heat 2. I'm sure she's had a look at that start record, looked at the weather today and thought, you know what? I love a bit of that.
Yep, absolutely right. Francesco Friedrich in the 2-man race this afternoon will be targeting those start records as well. Let's see what she's got. Nice looking run so far. Little to the left, maybe coming onto the Kreisel. Nice exit. Avoids the tap on the left-hand side. 9 and 10 are going to be the key here. Oh, big hit. 1900s up. The gap will come down to Brianna Walker. 1400s, how close at the line, a 10th. 54.67, but she has the first heat lead. They're crowding into the coach's box at the top, aren't they? When the drivers are sliding lonely bob, there's not much else for the brakes crews to do. So they're helping out down the bottom. They're crowding around the monitor at the top. All right, mistakes to tidy up for Lisa Buckwitz, mistakes to tidy up for Brianna Walker as well. It's who makes fewer mistakes in the second heat that's going to decide this.
Yeah, again, just a little late out of 9, which pushed her into the wall. Quite a big hit on the wall there.
Didn't have to steer quite so hard, but still, that tap. She does get this track, she really does, and she's possessed of a great start, which certainly does not hurt here. Lisa Buckwitz leads from Brianna Walker and Kaysha Love. Just look at the scenery around this place, and then look back at the track, because Melanie Hasler, our silver medalist from La Plagne last week in her 10th World Cup start, only finished 7th yesterday. Let's see what she's got, 5.88, that's another good start.
That's a very nice start, and you're going to move quickly when Chris Woolley's shouting at you from the top of the track, I think.
Yeah, your experience of the track in Bath tells you that, does it? 1300s back. Early on, this is definitely a medal challenging driver. Ooh, little skid out of 6 down into 7, the Kreisel. Best speed still, but that's gone away now.
Nice out of 9, little touch before 10.
Yeah, that just sort of sent her onto the right line for 10. I don't think that would have done too much damage. Only 1400s back, she's bringing it back, looking for second place at the line. How close does she get? 300s behind Brianna Walker. Again, this is how this track rolls. Leader is a 10th clear, then 300s between Brianna Walker in second, Mel Hasler in third, 500s back to Kaysha Love, and then we've got 3 sleds behind her, covered by a few hundreds of a second. Little wavy down from 6 to 7.
And there is a little bit of ice that you really don't want to hit before you go into Kreisel, because it will send you up towards the roof.
She's pretty happy with that. Let's go. Okay, who else is going to pose a threat? Well, our start record holder, Cynthia Appiah, could well do. Didn't have the legs under her yesterday that I sort of thought we might see. First start was only 6:01. We had starts down 5.90 from Lisa Buckwitz. Well, one of Cynthia's 4 bronze medals came here in February of this year, at the end of last season. Finished 8th yesterday, 9th in La Plagne a week ago. What's the start looking like this morning? 5.83.
Nice start from Cyn there. You know, she's the powerhouse that we see at top of the track. We said yesterday, is she maybe focusing a little bit more on the driving, trying to think about that rather than, you know, going hell for leather at the top of the track, but a nice happy medium there.
Well, that was a second fastest start, only 400s off the mark left by Lisa Buckwitz. Only the 5th best speed though. She's gone from 400s behind to 11 to 1500s back. This is not good speed. Long slide from 9 to 10. Now, not all teams will have the same sort of runner selections, and different kind of runners, the way they're cut, the way they're shaped, work on different temperatures of ice. Cynthia Appiah across the line in 5th, 200s ahead of Andrea Greku, 400s ahead of Nolte. So 5th, 6th, 7th right now. That's a big arm wrestling match in the second heat.
And you mentioned there about runner selection, Martin. Obviously, Canada had Graham Richardson as their head coach previously. He's moved across to Great Britain. Are we seeing him taking his runners with him, possibly?
It could be. Runners tend to stay with the drivers in the old school way, or with the team, but yeah, you never know. Little skid there. Again, late off corner 9. Is clearly feeling very different to the way it did yesterday. And so, based on that knowledge, you're trying to adapt in what is a pretty high-speed curve. Next up is our Olympic silver medalist in women's monobob. Kaylee Humphries claimed the gold. She's taken a year out this year. She's expecting her first baby. Elana Meyers-Taylor with 2 preschool kids here on tour with her. Husband Nick Taylor is part of the physio and coaching setup of the Sacramento Kings basketball team. They had a win on the road a couple of days ago. So he's not able to help out with the kids. Elana is being a full-time mum and a full-time athlete. 5.96.
Yeah, as you said, Elana's making her way back from having baby number 2, but gosh, each race she's coming back at the start, isn't she? She's finding her fitness, finding her strength.
Absolutely, and she will relish a couple of weeks off Christmas and New Year, I'm sure. Catch up with Nick, the kids can see Daddy again. She'll just have a couple of weeks where she's not having to get up. Sled prep, hump sleds, push sleds, drive sleds. But you're right, the fitness may not be quite what it was at the Olympic Games, but the driving is right there. She's out driving her starts. 1700s back at the start. She's only 3/10 adrift at the moment. This could be a top 6 run. Tussling with Lara Nolte. She's ahead of Andrea Greku and Lara Nolte. That is a good bottom part of the track, especially from Elana Meyers-Taylor. And when you are missing a little bit, half a step or a step at the start, then your driving has to be even better. This is a track where Elana has always driven well. She's got a really fine touch, and that works so well on this track.
Yeah, and for any other athlete, they would be thinking, right, my driver's got to be 100%, my start's not there. But she's got that championship mindset. She knows that she can put down a run. She's not going to worry about the mistakes that could happen. She's going to know that it will be good.
Yeah. She's got the experience. She's got the chops behind the D-rings. She is on her way back and coming fast. Ying Qing of China next up. Ying in her 8th World Cup Monobob start. 11th in La Plan. 13th yesterday. Took a bronze medal in Sigulda in the final monobob race of last season. That's her only World Cup podium so far in the monobob. Tied for 5th place in the last race here last season in February. So yesterday, a big disappointment, only 13th, 5.98. Well, a couple of hundreds behind Elana Meyers-Taylor. That gives her a top 6 possibility.
It does, but it comes down to the drive now, doesn't it? And it comes down into these corners where you know you can have a little bit of trouble. Exit Kreisel, exit 9. Let's see how she controls those.
Nicely out of corner 6. Controls the spike in Kreisel. Comes out all little skids down into corner 8.
12th best speed and a skid out of 9. Oh, wow.
Wow. Ricochet rabbit, as John Morgan would say there, from opposite lot one way to the other. And again, anybody who's ever been skiing knows what happens when you put skis sideways. The same with ice skates, and the same with the runners here. They may not have the sharp edge of an ice skate, but they have just as much friction. She went from 8th to 13th with that slide. And that's the difference here, isn't it? You know, on this track, one tiny error and it just torpedoes the entire run.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the track is such a short track. Once you've made that error, there's not a lot of time to make it up. Once you've made that error at the bottom of the track, you're just going to keep bleeding speed then.
So she came out so sideways, she actually hit both sides of the track with the nose between 9 and 10. Well, not every day is your best day. That's what sport's all about. 24-year-old from Poland, Linda Weiszewski next up. 3rd World Cup start for her. Made her bobsleigh debut in November 2019. Started driving monobobs 2 years later. So just 2 years of monobob experience. Already has podium finishes in monobob races in Europa Cup. 14th in La Plan, 12th place yesterday. Let's see if she can build on that experience. Gets in and down so quietly. 6.04, not the fastest start, but she's trying to keep what momentum she's got alive in these first slow corners.
Yeah, and this tiny little pocket road. Yesterday's result was the best Polish mono result in history, that 12th place. So she's going to be having some positive thoughts off of that result. I mean, can she do the same again today? Can she replicate it?
11th fastest, or 11th from the start, but again, long skid. And that takes the speed out of the sled. She drops down to 12th, little tap from 9 to 10. Big height in 10. Scaring the woodwork. And this is going to drop her behind Ying Mingming and Margo Boch, behind Bianca Ribi. 14th at the line, behind Ying Qing. Well, a race of two halves, or a run of two halves there. Decent early on, and then a couple of sizable errors. And when we can see them on the TV, we know they're big mistakes.
Yeah, and it's, you know, when you make an error, like she's out of Kreisel, she came off Kreisel a little bit heavy-handed, it's then you've got to regain the focus before you get to 9, because 9's a quick corner and you need to focus to come out of 9 properly. And I don't think she quite gathered her focus again.
There's a great going away shot, isn't it? Where the corner is going right and the sled's turning left down the straight towards it.
I can't even tell you what my thoughts would be in that position.
I can imagine it's, yeah. I didn't think there were any Welsh swear words. Next up is Katrin Beierl of Austria. Didn't race in La Plan, so she's making her World Cup debut, or did yesterday, in women's monobob. Had a year away from driving last year as she recovered from a mini stroke. Women's bobsleigh World Cup champion in the 2021 season. Started 2900s back. Walking into the track this morning with leftover of last night's schnitzel in a little pot box, and she said, "What's that? That's disgusting." So she's now threatened to make me a schnitzel when we get to St. Moritz next time out.
He's spoiling you.
I know. 7/10 back, started 13th fastest, slipped to 15th, she's up to 14th at the line, she's 14th, 55.47. And Ying Qing 600s in front of her, so there's definitely ground to be made up by Katrin Beierl.
Yeah, I think for Katty as well, after that health scare that she had last year, it's just so lovely to see her back on the circuit, isn't it?
Exactly right. I mean, and that came when she was absolutely in peak form. She certainly knows how to get the best out of this track. She's less experienced in the monobob than in the women's bobsleigh. We say good morning to former brakewoman Jennifer Onosanya. Yeah, a couple of errors creeping in there. You can see from the body language, not exactly thrilled with that run. Next up is 21-year-old Victoria Cernanska from Slovakia, her 6th monobob World Cup race. Her best result, a 6th placed finish in Sigulda, the last race of the season last year. Finished in 16th place yesterday. And again, on this starters track, she is going to be behind when she gets in. And the problem there, as we pointed to earlier, is that there's so little ice, only 1,200 metres long. This is comfortably the shortest track we run on. 6:22, so she's got some work to do behind the D-rings.
Yeah, but we saw yesterday in Heat 2, she put down one of the quickest runs of the day. So if she can do something like that off of that start, maybe that's going to put her in a better position, in a fighting position.
Yeah, she had the opportunity with a fresh spritz in the second heat and really took it with both hands. 10th best speed off the 16th fastest start. So she's definitely doing something right in the sled. There's no question at all about that. Drifts away from the wall, clean from 9 to 10. 16th place at the moment. So this will be ahead of Giada Andreutti of Italy, ducks ahead for the extra 100th. Otherwise it would have been a flat second behind, 55.66. Think, well, what difference can it possibly make whether you hide your head or not? Well, if you stick your hand out of a car window at 80 miles an hour, tell me what wind resistance you find. And that's exactly what ducking out of sight makes makes that tiny difference. And this is a sport that's judged by hundredths of a second. Look how low back, how reclined her driving position is. It's almost like a Formula One driver, way laid back there. So Victoria Cernanska ahead of Giada Andreutti and 100th behind Linda Weiszewski of Poland. As we get to our second Polish slider, our final sled in this first heat, 24-year-old Julia Slupek finished in 18th place yesterday on her debut in the Monobob World Cup. Not her first race, she had 23 Monobob races in Europe Cup before she made her World Cup debut at the top tier yesterday. Walks in, settles in gently. Ooh, just got away with that little runner check to avoid the wall.
I think she was playing with you there, Martin.
I think she was playing with fire there. 6:47, that was even more dramatic, I think, in the end than she'd expected it to be. She walked in very slowly into the sled to try and avoid any drama. And in the end, the drama came anyway. A little rattle as of the Kreisel. Little skid 9 to 10. Julia still in the learning phase of her driving career, but really great to see a small sliding nation like Poland with 2 sleds in the field. 56.68, 18th at the line. And again, as with yourself, Mika, as with Adele Nicoll, when you are relatively new to driving, it's about racking up those ice miles, it's about getting the experience, learning tracks, finding out what works, what doesn't, so that things start to become instinctive.
Exactly that. And, you know, for Julia, such one of the newer pilots, being on the World Cup, she will get less runs than she would do on Europa Cup. So then it's getting used to that and getting used to having those less runs before the race.
Yep.
And that shorter prep time. But no, what a fantastic experience for her.
Absolutely right. So 18 sleds down, and our 2-time winner in Innsbruck is our leader, Lisa Buckwitz, looking for the hat-trick of Eagles wins. Leading after the first heat. The gap is a 10th. 1300s back to 3rd, 1800s back to 4th. So that's where the challenge comes from. And the names in the frame remain the same. Lisa Buckwitz, yesterday's winner. Brianna Walker, yesterday's silver medalist last week, Melanie Hasler. Winner last week, Kaysha Love. That's where the threat is coming from. Cynthia Appiah, Elana Meyers-Taylor, Andrea Greku, Nolte, they've got their own battle. 400s covering 4 sleds. Behind them, a tie between Ying Mingming and Margo Boch. 300s ahead of Bianca Ribi. Another 200s back is Ying Qing. And then Katrin Beierl a little bit on her own. But then a battle between Weiszewski, Cernanska, and then Giada Andreutti and Julia Slupek will be in there as well. And Adele Nicoll in her second World Cup race in 9th place after the first heat, looking to improve on yesterday's 15th place finish. Can she do it? Can Buckwitz win a 3rd in a row on this track? There's only one way to find out. Join us for Heat 2. We'll be back at 11:30 local, 10:30 GMT, 05:30 Eastern. Till then, from Mika Moore, me Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew here in Innsbruck, bye for now.